Alright, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at how to convert a variety of fractions to percentages. So let's get started with our first one. We have 16 out of 20. And this out of here is another way of saying division, or we can express this as a fraction. So 16 of 20. Now, remembering from earlier lessons that our percentage means out of 100. When we're converting between a fraction or a decimal, we're essentially multiplying it by 100 and then adding that percentage symbol to indicate that it isn't actually changing the quantity. All we are doing is adding a symbol on to represent the fact that if we wanted to convert it back, it's going to be divided by 100. So we're going to multiply this by 100% over 1. Now, if you look at this and you're saying this can be simplified, that's a great thing to do first. So if we find any fractions that we can simplify into an easier fraction, that makes this process of doing this manually a lot easier. So let's start off by seeing if we can cancel anything vertically between the 16 and the 20. Right, so they both have a similar factor. They both can be divided by 4. So if I divide the 16 by 4, I'll get 4. And if I divide the 20 by 4, I will get 5. That changes this entire expression to be 4 out of 5 multiplied by 100% over 1. And because we've done cancelling between our top and our bottom, or our numerator and denominator, we can also look to cancel diagonally. Now, if we have a common factor between the denominator of the first fraction and the numerator of the second one during a multiplication, we can look to cancel between them. So we know that 5 will be a common factor, so let's divide this by 5 and get 1, and divide this by 5 and we're going to get 20. So we're left with 4 over 1 times 20 over 1. Now, over 1 doesn't mean anything. Every single number can be expressed as a fraction over 1, so this is actually just 4 times 20, which is then going to be 80%. Alright, let's look at B. So for B, we have 9 out of 12. And we're going to replace this out of and turn it into a fraction problem. So it's 9 over 12 times 100% over 1. So let's look if we can simplify this fraction. They're both divisible by 3, so let's divide the top by 3. 9 divided by 3 will just be 3, and the denominator by 3, 12 divided by 3 will just be 4. Right, now that we've done that, we can have a look if we can cancel diagonally, and we can see that we have a 4 and a 100, and we know that both of those can be divided by 4. So if we divide 4 by 4, we'll get 1. And if we divide 100 by 4, we'll get 25. And so we're left with 3 over 1 multiplied by 25% over 1, and that just is equal to 75%. Alright, let's look at C. So for C, we have 18 out of 25. Replace out of and turn it into a fraction, and then multiply by 100% over 1. Right, now all we have to do is try and find some common factors. So between 18 and 25 there won't be any common factors, but we can look diagonally and we can see that 25 and 100 obviously have a common factor of 25. So we can divide this by 25 and we'll get 1, and divide this by 25 and we will get 4. So this results in 18 over 1 multiplied by 4 over 1, and we put that percentage symbol because otherwise this doesn't work. So we just have to know what 18 times 4 is going to be. So you can break this up into two parts. You can do 40 plus 32, or you can just do it in one go. So this actually equals 72%. And there are a couple of other ways of doing this. Now, we notice that at the bottom we have the denominator 25, And we know that any kind of percentage is going to be out of 100. So if I create an equivalent fraction where the denominator is now 100, I can immediately turn this into a percentage. So how have I gone from 25 to 100? I multiplied it by 4. And in order for this to be an equivalent fraction, I have to do the same to the numerator. Okay, so we can do that same process. 18 times 4 would be 72, and by definition 72 out of 100 is 72%. Alright, now we'll do this one more time. I'm just going to show you how to do this on a calculator. If you bring up your calculator and we do 18 divided by 25, it will give us a decimal value. Now you can immediately convert this to a percentage by timesing it by 100 and adding the percent symbol on at the end. So it'll be 72%, just like how we calculated before. Just remember you have to add that percentage symbol on, otherwise it will not work. It won't make sense, and we can only say that 18 out of 25 is equal to 72%. We can't say 18 out of 25 is equal to 72 because that's wrong. Okay, here's a few for you guys to practice, so just give the video a pause, give them a go, and then I'll solve them. Okay, let's get started. So, for D, the easiest way to solve this particular question is to recognize that 35 out of 50 is the same as 35 over 50. And all we have to do is turn this into a fraction over 100, and we already have it expressed as a percentage. So if I multiply this by 2 to get 100, I have to do the same to the numerator. And 35 times 2 is just 70, which equals 70%. Now you can do it the other way. You can involve cancelling and you'll get the exact same answer. So if I do 35 over 50, and I multiply this by 100% over 1, and I look for any common factors, and I can see that here I'll have a common factor of 5, so I will divide the bottom by 5 and I will get 10, and the top by 5 and I will get 7. And then I'll look diagonally between the 10 and the 100, and I'll know that the common factor there is 10, and so I'll cancel this and divide it by 10 and get 1, and I'll divide this by 10 and I will get 10. And we're left with 7 over 1 multiplied by 10% over 1, which is just going to be equal to, as we had at the top, 70%. For E, we have 24 out of 30. And if we express this as a fraction, it's 24 over 30. And this is going to be equal to, well, let's see if we can find any common factors. Obviously, between the two of these, common factor is 3. This is going to be equal to 8 times 3 over 10 times 3. And we can cancel whenever we have this multiplication of the exact same number, top and bottom. It's what we were doing before. We were just dividing the top and the bottom by 3 and creating an equivalent fraction. So this will be the same as 8 out of 10. And that's just another way you can do your cancelling. And we can simplify this further. If you would like to divide the top and bottom by 2 again, you can also reduce the fraction, but this is going to be fine for our purposes. So we've got 8 over 10 multiplied by 100% over 1. Now we already have a common factor here diagonally between the 10 and the 100. So I'll divide this by 10 and I'll get 1, divide this by 10 and I will get 10. And so this equals 8 over 1 multiplied by 10% over 1, which is just equal to 80%. So when you get a value like this where the denominator is 10, it can often be a better point to stop with a simplification. If we look at F, we have 45 out of 60. And we're going to multiply this by 100% over 1. First up, let's try and find a common factor between the 45 and the 60. We both know that they're going to be divisible by 15. So if I divide the top by 15, I will get 3. If I divide the bottom by 15, I will get 4. And now, is there any diagonal common factors between the 4 and the 100? Yes, I can divide both by 4. So I'll divide the 4 by 4 and get 1. And I'll divide the 100 by 4 and I'll get 25. So this becomes 3 over 1 multiplied by 25% over 1, which is just 3 times 25%, which is going to be 75%. Alright, I'll quickly have a go on how to do that with the calculator. So if we bring up our calculator and we clear what we've got there, we can do 45 divided by 60. This gives us 3/4 as our simplified fraction, which is also equal to 0.75 as our decimal value. If I take that 0.75 and I multiply it by 100 and add a percentage symbol, that will be our percent. So we have 75% here on the calculator as well.